bring the proper documentation so that you don't come in and waste time and hold the lines up. Because what we've been getting is people coming in and saying they have everything. Then when they begin to tell the person who they're being interviewed by, they don't have it. And what happens? They have to go back out in the car and look for it, and sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't. And the other thing is, if you need a barcode, please bring $10 with you. Otherwise, you have to go out to the bank. It's hard for me to imagine somebody doesn't have any money on his person, but this is what's happening, and it holds everything up. And it's not fair to the people who come here with all the stuff that they need. And thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Stuart. David.
Good morning. Earlier in the year, the policy for gate passes was changed, and the longest length for a gate pass is now 6 months. We did this for security reasons. And also, some of you may have received in the mail a notice, a courtesy notice, for someone that has gotten a gate pass in your association. All this does is to let you know that that individual unit has someone that has a gate pass. And it's been very well received. I've gotten lots of phone calls about it saying, thank you, it's a good idea. At least we know now there's somebody at this place. And also, it might cut down on the fact that somebody might be actually occupying that unit that really shouldn't be occupying it. They should have been investigated prior. So, and that's another reason we cut it down from 1 year to 6 months, just to see that a little bit more control over it, and also to let the associations know as well that they can have a little bit more control over it as well. And that's everything for me, and thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, David. Hold on, we got a question? Yes. GateAccess.net. Are you suggesting that there be a cap on the length of time of that entry? All right, George, we'll take that up. We'll take that up in security. That's a good thought. Didn't even think about that. Right, you could put a guest in there with no end date. Be in there for forever. All right, thanks. Got that, George? That's kind of interesting. All right, Fausto.
I want to thank everybody for coming. Most of the things that I can discuss have already been discussed, but one of the things, be prepared when you come into the UCO office. We're doing business, what we used to do in 4 hours, we're now doing in 2 or 2.5 hours. One of the biggest culprits, like Stuart said, you don't have the proper documentation. If we could put it on video, candid camera, 50% of the people that come said, what is a registration? Why do I need that? You need a current registration to get a barcode. The second is, a lot of the officers of the building are just too lazy to drop off paperwork for investigation. And they write a letter, this is the realtor, I'm authorizing him to do business for the association. Doesn't cut it. You people have to come and drop off the paperwork. There's a reason for that, and think about it. Other than that, all I could say is thank you for your cooperation, and we appreciate when people say thank you. There's not too many people that say thank you for your service, and I'm very happy with the 4 vice presidents that are there 5 days a week, and you should be too, to make sure that the village goes on without interrupted service. Thank you.
Thanks, Fausto. And now the UCO secretary, Bob Rivera. Go ahead.
First thing I want to mention, well, first, good morning. and thank you all for coming. First thing I want to mention is our forms for you guys to be here. All right, your delegate, officer, and CERT contact reports. All right, I want to make sure that you guys please, when you fill them out, put in an alternate. If you don't show up, you are not representing your association. So please have an alternate in there that's going to come in your place. All right? Second thing that I want to mention is, and I hate to say it and I hate to do it, but I am going to be calling for the resignation of Mary Patrick. She has not done her job, and she needs to put in her resignation. All right? I've been doing her job since day one. She has refused to learn it, and I think it's time for her to resign. All right? I'm also going to be putting in a amendment to combine both the recording secretary and the corresponding secretary's job. Like I said, I've been doing it. I think anybody else can come in and do the same thing. All right, it's going to eliminate one of the officers, but it's going to make it so that the people that come to work at UCO do their job. That's all I ask. All right.
Any questions for Bob? All right, Bruce, I know you're new to this, but
Got a question.
well, hold on. Oh yes, has to go through the whole process. Sure.
It's going to be an advisory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going in advisory
Ruth?
this next meeting.
Oh, okay. Never mind, I have one. Okay, I'll be brief because your treasurer will speak as an officer next, but I just want to let you know that the UCO reporter is coming along very well, and why? Our business manager, Fausto Fabro, I can't say enough about him. He has brought down advertising balances due from something like $20,000 to about $400 at the moment, and that is helping our paper tremendously. We're always looking for writers. If you can write, if you have any ability at all, send in articles. We'll consider everything. We try to make the paper as interesting as possible for you. And thank you for reading.
All right. Last but not least, our treasurer, Ed Grossman.
I too say good morning to everybody, and I do thank you for coming. The participation of the delegates is vital for our existence. So I urge you, if you know of another delegate who doesn't come, tell them to come. It's very, very important. David Israel touched on the Millennium Agreement. From a financial side, that is a very important document that a lot of people don't look at. The Millennium Agreement that is expiring was for 20 years. The one in general, just touching on some stuff, the one that we're trying to negotiate now was only for 10 years. David touched on the fact that we have an attorney, and that's very important, and some of the general population has contacted him and given him some very good information for us to go forward. I'd like to make another comment regarding the other offices. We have gone through one of the most unusual times that I know of with this virus. And I want to thank those officers who have worked diligently in the UCO office to maintain its operation. Many volunteers are not there now. And it's important for you to know that besides their regular chores, they have maintained the operation of the UCO office. Terrific job. And I want to comment on what Ruth said about Fausto. He has done a terrific job. When I came there, the accounts receivable were not under control. An effort was made to use some volunteers and increase the capacity of the bookkeeping. It was weak. Fausto jumped in and really has been working very hard to keep our money, because some of this money that was outstanding not for 1 month, not for 2 months, but over a year. And so a terrific job, Fausto, on your collections. We also had, from a financial side, a weakness in our collection of our dues. I don't know if anyone here knows that not every association has a CAM. Some of our associations are self-managed. When I first got in office, I noticed that we had one association, just one, that was very, very delinquent. Not patting myself on the back, I met with the whole population of that association, informed them, told them they have to get up and do some work. They only had one person. They've done it, and I'm happy to say while we haven't collected everything, we started out over $20,000. A series of notes was given to us, which comes to the $24,000. They have gotten a new president who's very active and are raised their dues and making an effort to close this balance down. It's important that we here make sure that all the money comes in, because we need it. I want to bring to your attention also that last year, the audited statement for Century Village didn't come out until late October. We had a problem. We had to change auditors. The new auditor took over, and we got the report in October, mid-October. The report was due to be finished this month, but unfortunately, due to the same thing everybody else is, he's a bit behind, and when you come to the next delegate assembly, I am assure you, unless something outlandish happens, we will have the audited report, which is very important, because that's the basis of everything that goes forward. It's like building a house. You need the foundation, and an outside auditor just keeps on looking and scratching the surface. Those of you who have taken the time to look at the enclosed financial reports, which I submitted, will see that I've opted to change the format to a certain degree. I felt when I sat in the seats that lots of times I couldn't read it. So I made every effort to have every schedule readable so that you could see it. The next thing is, I felt, that's my personal opinion, that just displaying every single account really wasn't giving me as a delegate, you as a delegate, an opportunity to really understand and get through the report in a decent period of time. So if you look, they're much larger, and also I've condensed the report because to have small balances and stuff like that really doesn't serve a purpose. Also, for those of you who have looked at the report, you will notice an item that you may be wondering about, and that is 1,288,000, and my glasses are fogging up, 41. That item, so excuse me? I can't hear you? Oh, I'm sorry. Usually that's not a problem for me. My wife always says I talk too much and too loud. That is there for a reason. We all know that while the association collects the dues monthly, they only remit one time a quarter. Now, in order to get a monthly report, and in order to have a report off the quarter, that is the amount of money that UCO has collected, but is not entitled to because that's 2 months, and we always collect 3 months at one time. So that is a general adjustment for 2 months' money that we're sitting there with. I'd like to go to the bottom line to start because that's where you want to wind up. And I want to bring to your attention that we had to use a prior year budget, and fortunately, it appears that it's somewhat in line. So as I turn to the last page, regarding, just a second. Regarding the 4 months ended 2021, we are under budget by $3,882. The offices, Donald, who does a lot of the purchasing and is responsible for a lot of the spending, has been doing a wonderful job, and he's keeping his costs down. So, in essence, we are keeping our costs down and trying to adhere to the budget. For those of you who would have looked at it and would like to ask a question, let me say this. I could go through every single item if you want. To me, that's the bottom line, and if you look at it, that's what it is. Now, if anybody has any questions, to get in the details of the account, please give it to me, and I'll have it available for the next delegate assembly. That being the case, because of that accrual, an attempt to give you a monthly statement, I have prepared and it is enclosed the month of October. And as I get to it, pardon me for putting my glasses on and off. I don't mean the month of October, the month of April. 1 second. Again, this is the first time the delegates have been presented a monthly statement with the income. In the past, the numbers that you were given had the expenses but no income. By doing what I did, we are now able to produce a monthly statement. Again, we are very close to budget, but unfortunately, we are over 19,016 for the month. But when you put it together for the first 3 months, we're doing a very good job. And again, I consolidated the numbers so that you can read them. If anybody has a question on a number, please come forward. The last but not least is just a statement of accounts to show you really where we stand cash-wise. And if you look at it, you will see that, well, discounting the insurance, we have over 11 million bucks. And currently covering, in the process of covering the reserves. I will feel more comfortable with this report when I get the auditor's report, because he digs in a lot deeper. That's his job. And again, if you have any questions, feel free. If you want an explanation, I don't have every little detail here, come into the office. I'll be more than glad to help you. Miss Barbara.
I don't have a question for you, Ed. I have a question for all the officers. Number one, thank you all for serving through the COVID. But I want you to know, this is the first delegate assembly. Very hard to get information sometimes out there, even though Ruth does a very good job with the paper. I do want to say I'm on the bids committee. For the last 3 weeks, I have tried to find out when the landscaping contract was coming due. It's a fairly large contract, roughly 98,000 plus, and I could not get an answer. The other day, I was told by Donald that the contract for the landscaping of our community was signed already. Without it going to bids, even if they didn't have 2 bids, they should have come to the bid committee in case we wanted to tweak the contract. That was not done. And none of the bylaws of UCO, which says you should do that, was done. I'm very disappointed in the officers that they voted on that and disregarded our bylaws. It's something that we all have to follow, and I want the people in this audience to realize they do a good job, but they have no right to go over our bylaws that we all follow. That should be brought back to the bid committee, and it should be looked at. That's all I have to say.
All right. Ed, you got anything else?
No, I wish everybody good health, and I'm very happy that we have finally gotten enough people to have a delegate assembly, and I look forward to next month.
All right. Thanks, Ed. That brings us to our CAM. Donald.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back, and I'm glad to see you all. It's been a long time. I have a list. It's been over a year, so sit tight. Some of you have seen my reports in recent weeks about a Waltham association that's in very bad condition with some dangerous situations going on. I just want to give the delegates a brief update on that. Last week, I had the officers from Code Enforcement and the Building Division inspect the building. I was told yesterday that notices of violation have been issued for the condominium, and there's typically a period to cure the violations. They're usually 30 to 60 days. If they're not cured, or if no move is made to cure them, engineers signing a contract for a contractor, et cetera. It'll go to the Special Masters Court at Palm Beach County, and that association will be liable for $1,000 per day fines. So, in my estimation, there's some dangerous situations over there. So we need to maybe put a little bit of pressure on this association to get their act together. There was also a situation where I discovered a 92-year-old resident of this building with advanced Alzheimer's living in an apartment with collapsed ceilings, leaks, no usable shower. And it was, I felt it was an emergency, and I made a report to Florida Social Services. I found out yesterday that that person has been removed from the apartment, and I believe she's living with her son. Moving forward, our insurance chair, Tony Salamito, is working with the insurance carrier to get that building looked at closely by the entity that insures the association. We're all in the same group. We're all insured together. That's how we get the prices, the premiums that we get. We're all in this together as far as keeping our buildings from not literally falling apart. So we're gonna work within the group and see if we can't get this association back on the straight and narrow. There's some other shenanigans going on in that association that I can't discuss right now, but rest assured we're gonna pursue every way to get this troubled association straightened out. The next thing I wanted to report to you is some of you may have noticed that the lakes have turned green. This happens to some extent every year at this time of year when we don't get a lot of rain, and we get reclaimed water from the county that has high levels of phosphorus and nitrogen. EVA and WPRF are in charge of water quality. Their contractor assures us that this algae will go away naturally, and it is not toxic or dangerous to anyone. So in case you're asked, we're aware of it, and we're keeping an eye on it. No chemical solution was recommended at this time. I also thought it would be a good idea to turn off the reclaimed water for a time, and I've asked the water department to do that for us. That's been done. But now we need to keep an eye on the lake levels because we're not getting that input anymore. Hopefully within a month the rains will start, and that'll solve our problem because that'll mix with the algae water and clear things up. But I did get some calls, so I wanted to let you guys know. Dominic touched on this earlier. There is a major infrastructure project going on in the village involving potable water shutoff valves. Valves are being replaced and additional valves are being added. This has been going on for about 5 years now, every summer. The purpose of this project is to make the zones smaller and smaller so that when there's a water main break, maybe only 1 or 2 buildings will need to have their water shut off instead of 6 or 10. So long term, it's a good thing for the village. What we all need to be taking a look at is landscape restoration. Now, the water company and their contractor is responsible for bringing the landscaping back up to where before they started digging. I'm responsible for Yuko property, and I'll be doing a survey and making sure that the water company does what they're supposed to do, but you may also want to keep an eye on your own properties. If the water company dug something up and didn't put the sod back, you can call the water company directly, or you could send me an email at yukomaintenance@gmail.com, and we'll put you on the landscape restoration list, which I expect will be going on all summer. You'll also notice that there are a number of vacuum trucks, big tank trucks, that they belong to the Hinterland Group, HG. They're working for Yuko, and their job is to clean out and inspect the storm drains. These are the drains that collect our rainwater and bring it back to the lakes. What's going on there is that they're taking each section of storm drain pipe underneath the ground, cleaning it, vacuuming it out, taking out debris and sand, and then inspecting them for damage. This will go on for another few more weeks, and then we'll be done with that. So far, I've not received any reports of seriously damaged storm drain pipes under roads. So fingers crossed. So far, it looks good. Couple more things, I promise. Some of you have put in requests for new dumpsters, and you've been waiting months for a new dumpster with a big hole in the bottom. I sent an email out today to the Solid Waste Authority, and I copied in our county commissioner. We're going to light a fire on the Solid Waste Authority to get all of those dumpsters replaced. Some of them are in terrible condition. Some of this is COVID related. They're having a hard time sourcing new dumpsters. And this is going on all over the country. There's certain materials are just hard to get their hands on. Steel is one of them. Last thing, you're going to be seeing tree trimming in the next 7 to 10 days. The company you'll be seeing is called Timberland Tree Service. They'll be trimming all the trees on Yuko property, which is mostly along the main roads. Since they're a subcontractor of Seacrest Services, they'll also be trimming the trees on the Seacrest managed properties. So that's something for whoever has a Seacrest building to keep an eye on. You'll see them in the next 7 to 10 days. And Dominic touched on that there's a limit to how much they can trim. And that's all I got. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, I'm glad to see you all.
By the way, your reports are very good. I must say, very clear. I just have a question. You also talk about the expired tags on cars.
Indeed.
Now, if you can ease up on those of 2020 or even 2019.
Yes.
I have people who got stuck abroad, and if you can ease on this one. The second thing, I think we mentioned it.
Well, let me do one at a time. So
Okay.
let me answer that. Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Gladstone. We understand that there's been instances of dislocation and people had to bail quickly because of COVID.
That's it. Yeah.
What we're doing now is we're only looking for cars, and this is security does this for us, that are expired 2019. We're not even bothering with 2020 yet.
Good. That's good.
So
Good to know.
it'll take months before we get up there.
Okay. Second thing, if you remember, I mentioned to you, I think months ago, I jog around the village on the path there,
I see you.
and also the thing that car coming in the parking areas.
Yeah.
It's always one of us has to stop. I asked to put some kind of a warning sign, like a yield for the pedestrians or to those who jog or even bicycles, to ease up when the parking areas when you enter and this thing meets, to be just more cautious on this one.
All right,
I
so
know I have
obviously
problems.
I've forgotten completely about that because a lot of things are
Okay.
going on, but can you be specific about where you would want
Okay.
a
For
traffic
instance,
control
when
device?
I go into the Berkshire area, if I'm coming from the gate from Okeechobee, and I have to turn right, the people behind me who jog with the bicycles, when I go in, I cannot look back and see if somebody coming.
Right.
That's one thing, and it happens also in another area. I forget the place, but when I do jogging, it's always I have to stop when a car coming in.
Well, I'm glad you
some-
stopped.
It's a small thing just to put some kind of a yield, a triangle, whatever.
I mean, there are traffic control devices that can be installed. I tend to be very conservative about adding traffic control devices
No, on the
because
floor.
there's
Just mention some, painted on the floor, not with the sign,
Yeah.
because when you jog, you don't look on the side, you look on the floor. But the last thing that actually is happening, I heard the sheriff on car thefts and whatever, and also insurance, slip and falls. We decided to put security cameras in our area, in
Good
our
job.
building. Now, for 5 cameras on 20 units, it's less than 2,000 with 5 cameras and recording and everything you need. This is a big thing, because if anybody suspicious, whatever, or slip and fall, which we had the big
Sure.
problem in insurance, less than 2,020